20
Well,
minutes
it was
before.
also weird, Rob, seeing Dallas get shellacked.
Was it?
You and I both thought they would win that game.
I did. I really did. I had no confidence in Buffalo.
I was hoping
Zero.
Buffalo won, but like you said, I just didn't know which Buffalo team was going to show up. And they showed up. The good Buffalo showed up. And the bad Cowboys, I gave them an F game on First Things First this morning or this afternoon. And Rob, this is what, if I'm a Cowboys fan, if I were a Cowboys fan, what would scare me the most is this, that they are a different team on the road than they are at home. And it's born
Haven't
out
they won
now.
like 14 or 15 straight home games?
Yeah, they're tremendous at home. I think it's 14 straight.
Like
We know they just beat Philly at home. I think it is 14 straight. They're very good in Dallas. But on the road, Rob, this year they're 3-4 on the road. Okay? They're 7-0 at home and 3-4 on the road. And a lot of people might say, well, road, I mean, you're not expected to be as good. But look at the top teams in the league, Rob. These are teams that I think everyone pretty much looks at as contenders. San Francisco, 6-2 on the road. Philadelphia, 5-2 on the road. Kansas City, 5-2. Baltimore, 6-1.
good teams, Chris, they play everywhere. I mean,
right. That's what we're seeing. And here's the thing, Rob, over 2 years, because, let's go back 2 years. Is this a flukish thing for the Cowboys?
No.
They were good last year, won 12 games. This year, they're going to probably win about that. Last year, the Cowboys were 4-4 on the road. San Francisco 5-3, Philly 7-1, Kansas City 7-2, Baltimore 5-4. So over the last 2 years, San Fran 11-5, Philly 12-3, Kansas City 12-4, Baltimore 11-5 on the road. Those are the best teams in the league. Dallas over the last 2 years 7-8 on the road. And check this out. The one contender, I think fringe contender, but a lot of people like this team, Miami. Miami is like Dallas. The last 2 years, they're 7-9 on the road. You know what else those teams have in common, Rob? They can't beat good teams.
Right.
Dallas 1-3 against teams with winning records this year. Miami 0-3.
Those are the telltale signs.
Yep.
I mean, that's why we talked about it. I picked Dallas before the Philly win, Chris. You thought maybe they turned the corner, but it was a home game. It's about going on the road. I thought Buffalo was downtrodden, beaten. You know what I mean? Like, this was their opportunity to come in and do something, and they still couldn't do it.
No, Rob, their records on the road, win percentage, point differential, yards per game differential, even the passer rating of Dak Prescott, who we know is third in the MVP race, is all comparable to the Atlanta Falcons, who we know aren't a very good team. And Dak's passer rating is basically the same as Desmond Ritter's.
Wow, stop.
On the road. Like, at home, it's 122.5. On the road, it's 84.2.
That's a huge drop.
Huge. So, look, this game against Miami, it's in Miami this weekend. Big game for both teams. Miami still got a chance to be the number one seed. Dallas, I mean, a remote chance. Big game for both teams. That's what I'm going to be looking at, Rob. Dallas and how they play on the road. It's a good team. I don't think Miami's great, personally. But they are a good team. There's no doubt about that. And I can't wait to see how Dallas plays in that game in Miami.
If they lose that game, which I think they have a chance to, but if they lose that game, the doubts will continue. I know I saw someone, Micah Parsons, was saying it was unacceptable.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Is that the word he used? I read something there, Chris.
He said unacceptable and mind-boggling. Like how they play on the
night
road.
and day. Like it's night and day, and that says something, because you know you have talent, and you know you could play, and you know you could beat teams. It's a mindset when you go on the road, and they don't have it.
We can ask Dante Whitner about it, because you're right. Like, I mean, what does that say? A team is immature? Are they? I don't know. I mean, you wonder what is it? What else could it be? I expect there to be a little slippage, right, on the road, and that you won't, the home team may have an advantage. We all know that. But this much?
Hey.
And we look at the other great teams, and they don't have that slippage. That, to me, I don't know if it's immaturity, if it's not preparing on the road like you do at home. I don't know what, and again, we'll ask Dante Whitner, but it's something going on there beyond, Rob, just like physical football issues.
Now, I don't want to hear Gronk sing the national anthem. Chris, I know you didn't see that. It was an awful Rob G went, an awful rendition. He was there with two other people, but he was god-awful. But he did say on the Fox football pre- and post-game show about the Cowboys that their road performances, Chris, is just they're a mentally weak team.
I saw that.
Yeah,
I saw him say
that was, and I'm not going to disagree with that. Like I said, I don't want to hear him singing, but that makes sense to me because, as I just said, there is a mindset, and it's got to be us against them, and you got to be together, and you got to understand you're on a business trip. It's a business trip.
Right. And I don't know if they're hanging out, but it's not about hanging out. And if you do, nobody's saying you can't go out and do whatever you do, but like you said, your first priority is it's a business trip. Rob, you and I were beat writers for, decades.
Right.
Well, I was a beat writer for 8 years covering an NBA team. And you were for probably longer, my guess.
Well,
right?
I did it for 8 total.
8, okay, so we're same.
About the same. Yeah, about 8
and
years.
we, when I went to cities, I did it. One thing that was nice is, friends in college, former teammates or just friends, whatever, that I was good friends with, but probably would have lost some contact with, You
were able to catch up with them.
Yeah, I still got to see them, when we were still relatively young and right out of college because I was traveling to the cities they were in.
You could get together for lunch or meet you at the hotel for breakfast. I did that, yep.
But, Rob, I always knew I'm not here just to hang out. Like, that's secondary to what I'm here to really do, which is cover the game.
And if you turned in some bad stuff, they're going to be like, well, Chris, we can't send him on the road because he turns in sloppy copy. You know what I mean? Like he's not
you're
concentrating.
Because you want to hang out after
exactly.
the game. No.
You're giving us a half-baked story and all that during the write-through. People see through that, and they do in our business. And you're right.
From the box.
So you definitely, it's a business trip, and you have to understand it.
Yeah. I want to ask Whitner, but look, Gronk obviously knows a thing or two about winning championships.
They won big games on the road.
And being good on the road, yeah. So I, like you said, who are we to question him on that? And I think, Rob, when you look at Philadelphia, when you look at San Francisco, when you look at Kansas City and Baltimore, no one would call those teams mentally weak at all.
No.
And I do think people would question Dallas. And I don't know that it's just the road record, Rob, but Dallas doesn't. I've talked about the culture there under Jerry Jones, and I don't think that culture screams a mental toughness, like some of the other teams I mentioned, and this could be an example of that. But they better get it together because, Rob, they're probably going to be on the road. I mean, they're not likely to be the number 1 seed.
If they don't win the division, they'll be a 5
seed.
Right. And here's another stat: the Cowboys minus 18.2 points per game is the third largest home/road point differential, Chris, in the Super Bowl era. So that's a big difference.
In the Super Bowl
era, 18.2 points per game is the third largest.
That says it all.
That's a big difference. That's almost 3 scores.
All right, 877-99 on Fox. I'll also say this quickly, Rob. That weighs into the MVP discussion. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely.
I mean, it has to.
No, absolutely. It does.
It has to.
That's why I'm saying that's what I said to you
You say he's out.
He got eliminated. Like unless there's a total collapse by both of the players, Chris, I just can't see. I can't see him winning coming off of that because that's what everybody was waiting to see. He delivered exactly what people. There's not anybody, Chris, who was on the national shows on ESPN, Fox, talking about Dak as MVP. Nobody said, "Oh yeah, that's just a bad day at the office." Nobody.
Right. Because it didn't come against Carolina.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or something. It came in a big game that they needed and everybody was watching. So